of this term. Skateboard. A lot of stuff to do here. Not in this week's Parsha Baha'alotcha. If you are going to Chutz, you're going to miss a Parsha, right? Because they kept. Actually, you're going to hear a Parsha twice. You're not going to miss a Parsha because they kept 2 days Shavuos, and we already named Parshat Naso, which I did speak about last week. Yeah. So this week is Baha'alotcha, and a lot of stuff. If you remember, right at the beginning of Bamidbar, not so long ago, just a few weeks. A nice microphone. I discussed 2 ways to divide up the Sefer, and the first way was until Chukat, and that's not what we're talking about here. Here we have Vayehi bin Saharon in this week's parasha, and it really differentiates from the rest of the book before. It's practical reality of what happens when you go out there, and not such good things happen when we go out there that we spoke about a number of weeks ago, and how we deal with those challenges. There is a parsha here which it's a fascinating parsha from a number of different perspectives. Number one, go all the way back to Parshat Yitro. You remember the claim to fame that Yitro has is that Yitro comes to Moshe and advises him how to run the program, right? He says, divide, give to other people the work, and you don't have to be talking to everyone all of the time. There is no immediate record in the Torah that Moshe did what Yitro said at all. In this week's parasha, Moshe is getting a bit fed up with the people. Remember, we just started traveling. We've got about a week and a half to get to Israel, which never happens to that generation. And Moshe turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a state of despair. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him to get 70 people together who will help him. It sounds very familiar to the story of Yitro. There are differences, but it does sound familiar, and he does it, okay? I want to deal with a specific issue that happens, but I need to explain the issue, and therefore, for a change, I have a piece of Gemara here as well, because that's the original source of the Torah Sheba'al Peh here, and we'll go from there. There's some massive stuff, and then, of course, having prepared Shir Klali and having Lieber photocopy the whole thing, I happened to mention it in passing to Rav Yonatan, and he said, well, didn't you see this source? And I said, no, I never saw this source. He says, and it's an exceptional source. So I went to look at the source, and then today I had to add it on to the end, and so even if we don't get to it, at least you've got it. And then I had to myself. I didn't want to get Lieber to do it, then photocopy and attach them all. That's why there are 2 staples. It's not like Zachor v'Shamor. It's just an extra source that comes at the end, okay? So let's look at the psukim, just so that you do need the sources here. I'm not stam schmoozing, okay? You do need the sources here to understand what's going on. It is a fascinating subject. Vayesem Moshe v'daber el Hashem et divrei Hashem v'yesaf 70 ish miziknei ha'am. Moshe delegates to 70 people from the elders of the people, v'yamed otam svivot ha'ohel, and he stands around the ohel. Vayered Hashem be'anan v'yidaber elav v'yatzel min haruach asher alav v'yiten al 70 ish hazakenim. And part of Moshe's spirit is shared with these other 70 people, meaning they are now going to have some of Moshe's nevuah, some of his prophetic abilities. What v'lo yasafo means is a debate in Rashi, whether they were only prophesied once, or they prophesied and they never stopped prophesying. That's a diokon word v'lo yasafu. Vayisharu. Now this is a sugya I want to discuss today. Vayisharu. I've never ever given Shir Klali on this at all, ever. Shechianu. Okay, V'yisharu shnei anashim. I got very excited. I spent part of Shabbos doing it. I got it, I think, Shabbos afternoon, I think it was. V'yisharu shnei anashim b'machaneh, shem echad Eldad v'shem hasheni Meidad. 2 people stayed in the camp, and they were called Eldad and Medad. V'tanach alehem haruach, v'hema b'ktuvim v'lo yatsu ha'ohela. And they did not go out to the tent, but they had this ruach. V'nabu b'machaneh, and they prophesied in the camp. They prophesied in the camp. V'yaros hana v'yaged leMoshe v'yomer Eldad u'Medad mitnabu b'machaneh. And there was a stinker. And someone went to tell Moshe that these two boys, these Eldad and Medad, are prophesying in the camp. Now, clearly from Yehoshua's reaction, they couldn't have been speaking very positively, because Yehoshua says Kila'im, which can either mean destroy them or jail them. But it's not good what Yehoshua says to Moshe. And then listen to Moshe's reply. What, you're being envious for me? Would it be that the whole nation were prophets? Why are you so upset? The more the merrier. That God should give his spirit to everyone. And that's the end of the sugya. That's it. So, a number of things to try and work out. Why are Eldad and Medad not part of the 70? What are they doing in the Machaneh? What are they saying? Which is also interesting. And what is this machlokas between Moshe and Yehoshua? Which isn't really a machloket. Yehoshua makes his suggestion and Moshe pushes him off. So look at the Gemara. It's not a hard Gemara. It's Sanhedrin, it's Agadata, but there's a lot of mashmod here. So one of the opinions here is that they remained in the lottery books. So what does that mean? So the Gemara explains, and if you've done Rashi up to here on the Parsha, you would have seen this in Rashi. Okay, there are a number of different versions of this piece, but God said to Moshe, get me 70 people. Moshe said, how am I going to do that? What do you mean, how am I going to do that? If I take 6 delegates from each tribe, 6 times 12 is 72. God said 70, not 72. Nimso shnaim yaterim, then there's going to be 2 too many. Evro chamisha mikol shevet. If I take 5 from each shevet, I'll only have 60, right? I'll be missing 10. Nimso asara chaserim. And if I say I'll take shisha mishevet zeh v'chamisha mishevet zeh, I'll take 5 from some shvatim and 6 from the other, right? You would have to take 6 from 10 shvatim and 2 5s. That would get you to 70, right? I'm not good at math. I just know the Rashi, okay? I'm aware of the Rashi. You know the Rashi is a bit presumptuous. Hareni matil kina ben ashvatim. If I choose 2 tribes and say I'm only taking 5 from you, and the rest of the tribes having 6, all hell will break loose, right? Everyone's going to get broigus. Why we get 5? Why they get 6? Why, So ma'asa, what did Moshe do? Biresh shisha shisha vehevi. This isn't what Rashi says, by the way. It's very interesting. When you learn Rashi, you say Rashi quotes a midrash. Rashi often uses a midrash, but he doesn't always quote it verbatim. Or there's a different midrash, but Rashi does not quote this Gemara. And if you've learned that Rashi, you'll become immediately aware. He actually brought 72 pieces. Al Shivim Katav Zakein. No, this is Rashi, sorry. Al Shivim Katav Zakein. On 70 of them, he wrote Zakein, an elder. And 2 of them, he left blank. And he said, okay, everyone pick. You pick. And whoever gets 2 blanks, he's out of the game, right? They're out of the game. You get 2 blanks, you're not going to be part of the 70. Go, each of the delegates from the different places. Each of the delegates from the different places should come and choose. And if you get a blank, you get a blank. It's your problem, but I didn't do it, right? It's easiest. Years ago, we didn't do it this way, but sometimes when all the Madrichot want to go to Poland, and we don't want to take all the Madrichot to Poland, so we draw lots, and because then you can't say I chose this one to go, this one not to go. This year, I think almost by the end, everyone will go. I'm not sure whether Noah is going with MTA. She is. So, but that's what you say, draw lots, and then no one get angry with you. I drew lots. So he says, okay. So, so if you pick out a piece of paper that says you're a zakein, go to the ohel. If you get a blank, if you pull a blank, not such a nice statement. God doesn't want you. So what am I going to do? God didn't choose you. It didn't work out in the Goral. It didn't work out. Fine. Rabbi Shimon gives a different interpretation. So according to that, Eldad and Medad drew blanks. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer b'machane nishtaru. They stayed in the camp. What does that mean? This is a different interpretation. When God said to Moshe, "Get me 70 people, 70 Zakenim," Amru Eldad Medad ein anu ru'im l'ota gedula. We're not worthy to be these elders. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu ha'il mi'atetem atzmechem, and therefore they didn't even pick them out, and therefore 70 men went, and it doesn't matter what they got. Eldad and Medad stayed nisharu b'machane. That's what the pasuk says. And so God says, because you belittled yourselves, hareini mosif gedula an gedulatchem. I will make you even greater. Uma gedula osif lahem. And what was the gedula that God gave Eldad and Medad? Shehaneviim kulam nitnu pasku. The Neviim, the 70, they prophesied once. We never hear of them again, really. We never hear of them again. There's so much to learn in the Torah, not just from what is written, but by what isn't written, what is missing. We hear about them here, and we don't really hear about them again. So they prophesied once. I don't know how that helps Moshe, right? They prophesied once. Vehem nitnabu velo pasku. And Eldad and Medad prophesied, and they prophesied forevermore. Now, listen now. Ma nevuah nitnabu. What did they prophesy? Now we know that they said something that is apparently meant to be offensive to Moshe. It's meant to be offensive to Moshe, right? Because the boy goes and runs. Rashi says the boy is Gershon, is Moshe's son. That's just a way of limud. No one knew is mentioned without giving their name. So the Nar is Gershon. So they must have said something that isn't so good to Moshe, even though Moshe doesn't get upset. Yoshua gets upset. So what did they say? Amru. Listen to some of these interpretations. Moshe will die. Yehoshua machnis et Yisrael la'aretz. And we are prophesying that Yehoshua will bring the Jewish people to Israel. This is, of course, before the Meraglim, right? So it's a prophecy, right? And it's a very troubling prophecy if you're a Jew, and we haven't yet done the Chet HaMeraglim, to be told that this leader, our savior, will not be taking us into Israel. So that was the first prophecy that they had. They were bringing the quails. They were prophesying that the quails would come and feed the people. And Rav Nachman Amar al iske Gog uMagog hem mitnabim. They were talking about the final war at the end of days between Gog and Magog. Okay, I think that's all I need from this Gemara at the moment. But we have the story now. We understand Eldad and Medad stayed in the Machane. Now, I know the way you're looking at me, ladies, say, oh, for God's sake, right? You got nothing else to talk about? Like you were talking about Miriam and Lashon Hara. This is what you're talking about, Eldad and Medad. Great names for twins, I think, Eldad and Medad. Great, Eldad and Medad. But please, God. Ladies, there's so much here. There is so much here. So don't turn off. Okay? So we've understood that Eldad and Medad, they're in the Machane for good reasons, either because they didn't see themselves worthy, they didn't even go into the hat and pull their names out. That's number one. We've seen that Yehoshua was very upset about what they were saying. We've seen the three possible things that the most offensive to Moshe would be, Moshe's not taking us into Israel. Now, of course, if Moshe heard this would be very troubling for Moshe, right? Because it's his great dream is to come to Israel. And of course, we all remember straight away is running through your mind the Gemara at the end of Ketuvot. Right? The place that Moshe Rabbeinu never got into. We are all here! We are all here! Nothing to do with the shir, but just, so Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't know whether I mentioned that before. Have I mentioned the flag? Yeah? Okay. I don't know. Sometimes I forget what I've said and I repeat myself. So, but we are all here. And Moshe never got here, right? Moshe never got here. So, but that would be the most offensive to Moshe. Not that he's not going to lead the people. He's not worried about leading the people. He never wanted to lead the people. He spent a perek in Shemot telling God he doesn't want to do it. that he's not going to come to Israel, that's a big deal for Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a big deal for Moshe Rabbeinu, and that should upset him. Moshe's reaction, remember, this is a parsha which we hear in a few psukim time, that there was never a man in the world as humble as Moshe Rabbeinu, right? We hear that a bit later on in this week's parsha. There was never an Anam in the world like Moshe Rabbeinu, so he's not worried about not being a leader, but he should be worried about not coming to Israel with the people. That miracle hasn't happened yet. Why? Like, what would that? But all he says to Yoshua is just forget it. Just forget it. Halavai, everyone will be a Navi. Okay? And that's the direction I want to go in the middle. Over the page. I'll finish on time. If I don't finish everything, I'll finish on time. There's no need to worry. Though by this stage of the year, at least for the Northerners, the credit card should have probably been closed for you. So go to the Abarbanel. I would have quoted you Rashi, but Rashi is Rashi again. Rashi isn't some quoting the Gemara, but it would be going, as far as we're concerned, it'd be going over the same thing. So look at the Abarbanel, ladies. The Abarbanel is quite magnificent here, and then Rav Hirsch is Rav Hirsch. Okay. There are a number of different reasons to learn German. One of the reasons to learn, well, and anyone else who knows German. Okay, so let me read to see the Mashlicha better. One is to be able to read Rav Hirsch in German, because everything you read in Rav Hirsch is translated, right? It's the Hebrew is translated, the English is translated. So let's look at the Abarbanel first. I don't know how many times I've quoted the Abarbanel for you this year. Abarbanel was the chiddush of my year in Israel. I discovered the Abarbanel. I used to sit and learn the Abarbanel. You need patience to learn the Abarbanel, as you do if you're a doctor. והוא שמשה, כדי שלא להטיל קנאה בין השבטים, רצה שיהיו שישה זקנים מכל שבט ושבט, והיה, now again, listen to Abarbanel, slightly different from the Gemara, I'm proud of you. You've been here long enough. Good girl. Ella's my family. Yeah? Ella came to my dad's bar mitzvah. Do you know that? Ella came to my dad's bar mitzvah. She actually came. She was in the Tanya. She came to my dad's bar mitzvah. It was very touching. It was very nice. Moshe. Well, she was at MTC for Shabbat, so she popped in. Don't start. I invited everyone. She just came. She came out, and then she was the one who knew that I spoke in shul about what I said Shikla knew. So they didn't know. והוא שמשה כדי שלא להדיר קנאה בין השבטים רצה שיהיו שישה זקנים מכל שבט ושבט והיו עולים כולם לעין בית הכתובים. So then again, Abarbanel is not exactly like the Gemara, right? Moshe wanted 72. He didn't want to start arguments, okay? ואלדד ומדד בדעתם שהיה ציווי אלוהי אספה לי 70 איש כדי שלא יפרשו שניים מהכתובים אותם שלא יקבל משה המה לנו והם נשארו במחנה. They decided off their own back that they're not going to get involved. There'll only be 70. God said there's 70. Even if Moshe chooses 72, God said 70. So 2 have to be left out. We're staying in the camp. Okay, ולא באו אלוהים מועד כשרת. They just didn't turn up. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא שאינו מקפח שכר כל בריאה ובריאה. God who gives reward to everyone, and even when people hide from reward, God will make sure that the cheshbon is sorted out. I got some great examples for that, but not for now. אם היות ששני השלמים האלה לא באו אל המועד, זכו שניהם להגיע אל השפע ההוא. Even though they didn't come to the Omerd, even though they stayed in the Machaneh, they got Ruach HaKodesh. ותנוח עליהם הרוח שנחר שאר זקנים כמו שנזכר. And they got the same spirit, divinity that the Shivim Zakenim got. נאמרו ויתנבאו במחנה, עושה למה שרוח אלוהים לבש גם אותם. They also got prophecy בהתנבאות הנזכר ההוא בהיותם במחנה לפי שהספיק גודל שלמותם להגיע לזה. The madrega was so high that they got to prophecy. מבלי אמצעות משה, without Moshe and the Ohel Moed. They got there on their own. לכך זכו במה שזכו. Not the theme I'm going to take here, right? But here you have people who reached Ruach HaKodesh, not because God's Spirit came down on them, but because they were good people. And they didn't want to embarrass other people. A real message here, right? Not a message I'm going to spend time on today, right? But as opposed to the other Shivim Zakenim who were ordained by this cloud that came down and ordained them by the Oel Moed, Eldad and Medad, they get Nevuah because they were good people, because they thought of other people and they didn't want people to be embarrassed. That's what Rabbi Benel says, right? Okay, so that's number one. Now, the boy runs to tell. He's going to tell Eldad and Medad in the Machane, and they're doing stuff they're not meant to be doing. So Kanireh, this was the Shaliach Beitin, and I said, Rashi says it's Gershon. Okay? קורא את הזקנים לבוא לפני משה לזה, הזכירו בה"א הידיעה הנער, וכשראה שנשארו אלדד ומדד במחנה, ולא בא משה לא עם מועד, ושהם היו שם מתבודדים ומכינים עצמם לנבואה. So I suppose the Nar, if we done the Kaf Suchot, thought there's going to be another Abihu here. Some chevra doing stuff they're not meant to be doing, and we're going to get punished from heaven. There's going to be a problem. And so he went to war, right? There are two people in the Machane who have Nevuah, and they're not meant to be doing that. אמר למשה, אלדד ומדד מתנבא במחנה, כי מתנבא הוא מבניין התפעל, וחז"ל אמרו, וירץ הנער הזה גרשון בנו של משה. So he quotes the Chazal and Rashi that the boy he went to tell was Gershon, the son of Moshe, שאמר שהם היו מנבאים רע על משה. And he says, which is taking that first opinion in the Gemara, that they were prophesying negatively towards Moshe, that Moshe is going to die and Yoshua is going to take the people into Israel. V'yan Yoshua bin Nun mesharet Moshe mibachurav rotzeh l'mash Yoshua liot mesharet Moshe mizman bacharuto. This is a Barbanel, okay? A Barbanel is an individual thinker. He says that Yehoshua was very upset. This is the way the Barbanel interprets the pasuk. מזמן בחרותו ונוריו של יהושע השתומם בעצמו. Yoshua's been working by Moshe his whole life. And he was upset. אמר בליבו, איך אפשר שאלו מתנבאים מבלי משה, ואני ששימשתי את משה מבחורותיי שהולכת חכמים לחכם לא התנבאתי? How is it that these two חבר'ה got nevuah kaka, and I've been working by Moshe for years, for decades, and I've never got a thing? לא התנבאתי, ולא זכיתי לכך. And therefore, according to a Barbanel, Yoshua doesn't sound so good here. Yoshua is jealous. And he says, Moshe, put him in jail. Like Rabbeinu, what's going on? You know, there's a hierarchy here. I've been Yom HaShamesh for all these years, not for decades, for many years now. So why have they got nevuah and I haven't got nevuah? Kila'im, ve'efshar lefashon milashon miniyah, ve'yechaleh hageshem. K'lomar, put them in jail. That's what the Abarbanel wants to understand. My name is nevuah, and so they cannot do any more nevuah. Because Yehoshua was of the opinion that they only got the prophecy through Moshe, and they didn't get it just because of their good behavior. And then 3 lines down, Moshe you're envious for me? If you're jealous, Yehoshua, because you're jealous, I like to know, don't come to me. Because God gave them the word. Go speak to God. It's got nothing to do with me. If you're jealous because they got it and you didn't, so go speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you're jealous because of me, I'm not bothered by it. Halavai everyone would be. So if you think that God gave it to the wrong people, go speak to God. If you're trying to defend me, don't defend me. I'm fine with it. Don't stand up and speak in my favor. I'm okay with this. I brought you the Barbanel just to give you a very, very interesting take he has on this, because it's not necessarily Pasha that's Yehoshua's agenda here at all. Have a look at Rav Hirsch. This is all really introduction to give you the background. Now go to Rav Hirsch. Adonai Moshe Kela'im. So Yehoshua סבר שאלדד ומדד חתרו תחת סמכותו של משה ופגעו בזכויותיו. He's not taking a Barbanel's line. He says that Rav Hirsch, that Yehoshua is of the opinion that Moshe is undermining, Eldad and Medad are undermining the leadership of Moshe. 70 הזקנים קיבלו את חלקם בנבואה רק כשותפים למשה. The 70 elders, they got their nevuah as partners to Moshe. Eldad ומדד התייצבו כנבחרים עצמיים. They're independent, they're במחנה. So this is kind of usurping Moshe's authority. So Moshe says to Yehoshua, המקנא אתה לי, You're coming to defend my rights. You think that they're undermining my leadership, and you need to defend that leadership. So now see what Rav Hirsch has to say here. And this is really my thing. Wow. הופעת אלדד ומידד בשעת מינוי הזקנים בסנהדרין הראשונים, וכן דברי משה שנאמרו באותו שעה הם בעלי חשיבות עליונה לכל הבאים אחריהם. Eldad Umeidad's turning up, number one, and Moshe's reply to Yehoshua is fundamental. Why is it so important like that? This is how I got to the subject. And it wasn't Rav Hirsch, it was Rav Steinsaltz, and I found Rav Hirsch who's very similar to Rav Steinsaltz, so of course he precedes him. כי נתגלה כאן שמינוי הרשות הרוחנית העליונה בישראל לא בא לייסד מונופולין של הרוח. Ladies, this is so important for us. It says there is no monopoly in spirituality. Nakuda. In Judaism, there is no monopoly to spirituality. כי הכישרון הרוחני שהניתן מאת השם איננה מותנה בשום משרה ותפקיד. The connection with God is not conditional to anything or anyone. והאחרון בעם ראוי ליטול חלק ברוח השם, and the lowest people in the nation can have a חלק ברוח השם. לא פחות מן הראשון במשרה רמה, no less than the highest of the highs. אולם דברי משה הם מופת נצחי לכל המורים והמנהיגים בישראל. What Moshe says is a lesson for every leader and every teacher in Israel. המורה להם כי האידיאל העליון של פעילותם יוגשם. Wow, that falls in your lap, right? 2 weeks before the end of the Northern Hemisphere year. האידיאל העליון, the highest ideal של פעילותם, of a teacher or a parent, יוגשם כאשר יזכו להיות מיותרים, happens when you become superfluous. When you don't need the teacher anymore. The ideal of the teacher, of the Rebbe, of the parent, is not to be needed. It's that you can do it on your own. That's what we're aiming for, right? Is that you can do it on your own. That you get to the Beit Midrash on your own, and you open the Sefer on your own, and you look up something on your own, and you do the mitzvahs on your own, you daven on your own, and not because the teacher told you, not because your parent told you. Well, whatever. That's Moshe said, right? I want them to do that, right? This is what I've been dreaming for my whole life, is that these people be Nevi'im. Fantastic. What are you getting upset about? This is what we wanted. Isn't this what we want? We want them to be their own, not just. Rav Amital always used to say he doesn't want to create Amitalim Ktanim. He doesn't want robots. And the Kotzker Rebbe used to say, Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel, don't impersonate people. Don't copy people. Don't impersonate yourself, even the Kotzker Rebbe said. He said, just be. And that's what the teacher wants, right? Is that the student's just doing it, and the student's just doing it. I can stand here, she's gone, so I can say it, right? I look at Rachel and I look at Rachel, I look at Avia. These are all Midrash Harova girls. Yafit, Midrash Harova girl. Central, I remember her interview, Yafit. I remember when she dropped her thermos hot water in Bialystok on her leg and burnt herself. I was there, I remember. And then you see these people as a mashkicha or as an ein bayit. Wow. And that's phenomenal, right? That's what we want. And if you think for 1 minute, and you look at a Yakira and you look at Miriam Wolf and you think, they were no different from you at this age. They were no different. Whatever they are, they made, they did. And that is the dream of every teacher and of every parent, is the halavai shekulam mitnamin. Like Moshe, this is what I dreamt for. Like, this is what I dreamt for. You know, one of my, I hate the end of the year. I've told you this. Not as much as on Malik, but it's pretty close. One of the greatest nachases I get, but it's a sad nachas because it's so short. It's when I'm sitting here on the last Shabbat, and to the degree my wife hardly ever comes on the last Shabbat because I never leave this room, and And I just watch the girls, and I got a good memory. And I remember people. I remember people on the first day, and I remember the first week, and I remember. I've had more than one conversation with Shana Bet who walk into me, not this year, but Shana Bet who walk into me into my office after a week of Shana Aleph and say they're not serious, and I say, let's talk about what you did last September. And then they leave my office very quickly. I suppose that's why I'm on sabbatical. I remember where people were, and then you look around. I spend a lot of my time on the Rosh Hashanah just looking and say, well, people are there. That's what we want, right? The people have done it on their own, and they can now move forward on their own. It's such a phenomenal point. She says, Yoshua, what are you upset about? This is what we wanted. We wanted them to be able to do this on their own. As we've been dreaming about this. We want to be superfluous. We should want to be superfluous. In an ideal scenario, I could cut half the shiurim in. Everyone sit in the Beit Midrash because that's the best learning. It's chavut in the Beit Midrash. That's the best learning. That's when you learn properly, when you're working it out with another person, not when someone's just feeding you the information all the time. Halavai. It would be that way. I would want everyone to be Eldad and Medad. Then I could retire because I'm not in it for myself, Moshe. It's not about me. It's about them. And if that's what they're doing, why are you upset? I don't understand what you're talking about. They don't need teachers anymore. They are teachers. ואכן הבאים אחרי הזקנים האלו ירשו את רוח משה רבם והם ראו זאת כתפקידם העליון להרביץ תורה בישראל. And they just automatically fill in, and now they're going to teach Torah. And that's how we're still around, because the next one and the next one and the next one, they just fill in the void. When you reach a certain age, one of the challenges of reaching a certain age is that all your mentors have died. They've died, and you talk about it in the past. All your mentors you talk about in the past. I want to hear my Rabbanim. I have to listen to a recording from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And suddenly you're looking around, there's no one there. And suddenly you realize that your Rabbanim were your age when you were not as great as them, but so someone has to fill in the place. והם ראו זאת כתפקידם העליון להרביץ תורה בישראל. וכלל גדול מסרו לכל המלכים הרוחניים של עמם, והעמידו over the page תלמידים הרבה. כאשר אמר משה המקנא אתה לי, יואליוס of me, הוא שמט את הקרקע מכל מחיצה אפשרית בין קרנידת אנשי קודש לבין הג'ונות. This is such classic Rav Hirsch. He says, pulled the rug from under the feet from any hierarchy in Judaism. There is no hierarchy. My point isn't to lord it over you. My point is that you become me and better. That you become me, that you do it on your own. And if you reach that stage, great. Now see what Rav Steinsaltz does with this idea. He takes it a step further and compares it to almost a pedagogical machlokes, which we know, those of you who were learning with Rav Sussman this year, or maybe learning it now, MTA, about Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. Okay? So he's going to take it to there. Have a look at Rav Steinsaltz. If we get to the extra source Rav Yonatan gave me, Kamatov. If not, I'll summarize it outside and you can have a look on your own. But Parsha Zo, I've edited this, right? It's like twice as long. I only took out what I thought was pertinent. But Rav Hirsch is really the foundation for Rav Steinsaltz. But he goes a stage further, Rav Steinsaltz. Now, Rav Hirsch's point is that this is such a phenomenal. Rav Hirsch is a man of, I don't know, right? But there are people who are speakers and people who are writers. Rarely speakers are writers as well. And sometimes when they write, it's not as interesting to read because it's a speech. So that phrase, I can hear Rav Hirsch saying it, right? I want to be superfluous. It's like it ringing, I forgot to put a title here, but I would have said that. I want to be superfluous. So you don't need me. That's the job of a parent, right? It's the parents at the beginning, they're holding our hands and helping us. But at some stage in our life, they're meant to be by our side. They're not meant to be doing stuff for us. We uf gozal, right? Chatoch et hashamayim, right? I got to let go, and I got to let you do it, and it has to go on its own. בפרשה הזו, מעשה אלדד ומדד הוא באופן מיוחד ומורה עניין. הקדוש ברוך הוא מצווה משה, I have to read it, so I don't want to repeat myself, but I don't know where I'm going to miss stuff that I want to say, okay? בפרשה זו, מעשה אלדד ומדד הוא באופן מיוחד מעורר עניין. הקדוש ברוך הוא מסדר משה למנות 70 איש שייסעו איתו במסע העם. God wants Moshe to appoint 70 people that will share with the burden of leadership. והכל הולך כמו שצריך עד שאלדד ומדד מתנבאים במחנה. Everything goes okay until Eldad and Medad start prophesying in the camp. 70 הנביאים הם נביאים עם הכשר. The 70 Nevi'im, they got a hechsher, right? They got it. They get ordained and וכולי. כל אחד מהם קיבל פתק שהוא נביא בהשגחת משה רבנו. Everyone's got a בד"ץ פתק, you can be a נביא, you got סמיכה from משה רבנו. ואילו אלדד ומדד הם נביאים ללא רישיון. אלדד ומדד, they don't have a certificate, right? הם מתנבאים במחנה. כשיהושע רואה אותם מתנבאים, הוא אומר, so Joshua is a zealot, and he says, Navi b'li hechsher tzarich leikanes lebeit hasohar. A Navi who hasn't got a certificate has to go to jail. Kam ba'at tshuva shel Moshe, and Moshe responds, v'zeh inyan shetzarich lizkor oto. And this we have to remember. You'll see the nuance between Rav Steinsaltz and Rav Hirsch. Moshe omer hamakane atali, you're zealous for me. V'sipek im zo she'elah. או שזה מסוג הדברים שקוראים להם תמימות קיימות, שאלה רטורית, or obviously this is rhetorical, like don't be envious for me. בהמשך דבריו מעמיד משה רבנו שאלה מאוד בסיסית. So then he says as follows, מי ייתן כל העם השם נביאים כי ייתן השם את רוחו עליהם. Would it be that everyone was a Navi and God would put his spirit on everyone? זוהי בעצם שאלה לגבי לימוד תורה. And this is a question about learning Torah. לגבי יראת שמיים, about fear of heaven. לגבי הרבה דברים אחרים, and a lot of other things. האם אפשר, is it possible, והאם צריך לנסות לסגור את הדברים אצל מספר מצומצם של אנשים ששניה, to isolate and create a intelligentsia, a hierarchy. האם להיות מן המכניסים או מן המפזרים? Should you be closing things or spreading things out? Why did I refer earlier? He'll refer to it too, to the machloket with Rabban Gamliel. You remember the story, it's in Perek Revi of Brachot, round about Daf Kavchet in Brachot, where Rabban Gamliel embarrasses Rabbi Yoshua, not for the first time. And Rabban Gamliel is a Nasi, but because Rabbi Yoshua is a big gadol b'Torah, there is a bit of an upset, and Rabban Gamliel is barred. He's thrown out of his position temporarily, and the Gemara is quite a long piece of Gemara with a lot of very interesting subjects there to discuss. Are you up to there with Rav Sussman? Yeah, and we are told that until the day that Rabban Gamliel was asked to leave, there were very, very few people in the yeshiva because Rabban Gamliel was very, very exclusive, and he insisted the only people who were tocho kavaro, that were the same on the in and the outside, like perfect people, could be in the yeshiva. So there were very few members in the yeshiva. And the Gemara tells us that when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah took over in the yeshiva, he opened the doors up, and a lot of Torah was learned that day, to the degree that day is referred to repeatedly through Shas as Bo Bayom, because there are a lot of chidushim on that day. Bo Bayom. Anytime you see Bo Bayom in Shas, it's talking about the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah took over Rabban Gamliel, because he opened the doors up. He said, anyone can come. No interviews. Anyone can come. Anyone can come, right? It's a very difficult thing, you know. Every time a new school opens up, they say, no, we're going to be different. No one's different. Everyone's going for the same girls, and every year the same group of girls gets rejected. No one opens their doors for everyone. It's just not true. Everyone's looking for the same girls with the good transcripts and the good grades, and everyone wants to be exclusive, and until the reality means you can't be exclusive because you just can't survive. But I haven't ever heard, myself included, of a school opening up for everyone without an interview, just for everyone. The doors are open. The doors are open, and that's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The doors are open. Like anyone can come in. There's no mivchan. You know what the mivchan was to get into Yeshiva Chachmei Lublin, right? 200 daf to get in. to be accepted, 200 daf. Right? So if you have a relative, you know they were a Talmid Chacham. So that's fantastic. It blows your mind away, but what about everyone else? So what do I feel if I can't do the 200 daf? What do I feel if I can't read the Rashi? That I can't learn Torah? That I've got no expression in Judaism? And what Rav Steinsaltz is trying to do here is going a stage further than Rav Hirsch. Rav Hirsch is saying, essentially there's everyone, and I want to be superfluous, but Rav Steinsaltz said, no, this is a shitat chinuch. The shitat chinuch is do I become hierarchical, condescending, or do I open up and I just take everyone? I just open up. See what he says. Just so you see, I'm not making it up. Sorry, I did that. Sorry. So next paragraph. So this is to do with the quality of Israel. So important for me and you, ladies. Only the worthy people, they do things, and only the worthy people go to the Holy of Holies. And whoever isn't worthy has to sit outside. Or should everyone come in? What am I going to say? You have to be worthy, you have to pass the exam, your parents have to be down here, your sisters have to be down here, you have to know Shas, you have to know Rashi. Or everyone can come. What do I care? What do I care? I can say to our credit that whenever people ask me, what do you need to get into the school? I don't say you need to know Rashi. Then you need to want to learn. If you want to learn, come in. If you want to learn, if you have the aspiration to learn, I really couldn't care less whether you can read a Kliyaka. I argue with Rav Sussman every year about whether girls have to read in an interview. I hate it. And that's why in most schools I ask the girls to prepare a Dvar Torah now, and then they can come, they can say what they want to say. And then some girls this year, they even made photocopies of what they prepared, and they brought me Daf Mukorot. It's much easier, right? Then you can bring what you bring. It says a lot anyway, right? If a girl prepares something, or she doesn't, or she just reads out her bat mitzvah speech or whatever, it still gives you something. You ask a girl to read an interview, Ribono Shel Olam, ladies, it's mashkicha time, right? I'm sitting there, I say, read the Rashi. Read the Rashi. You won't even talk for the whole interview because you're just, I often say to girls, do you want to read now? Just read, get it over with, and then we can take a Valium together. And she's like shaking. I see hands shaking in interviews. She's shaking. What difference does it make? What difference does it make, ladies? There are girls in Rabbi Elisha who can read Rashi. There are girls in Rabbi Elisha who can't. They're there because where you want to learn, you learn. And I don't care. I just don't care. It's a conversation that I have time and again with. I don't care. Of course I care. I care that people be able to learn properly. But if you're enjoying your learning, I don't care. So everyone should probably be a Rav Bergshire. You want to go Rav Avigdor, you go Rav Avigdor, and you enjoy that. Why? Because if you don't enjoy it, you'll never pick up a book again. It doesn't matter whether you can learn or not. You'll never open a book again in your life if you don't enjoy it. You just won't. And if you have a learning experience which you enjoy, and suddenly learning becomes wow, then you'll have a cheshek in the middle of Brandeis or Maryland or wherever you may be to pick up a book. But if we sit you there and say, Aleph, no, Aleph, do it again, do it again, do it again, and ladies, your place will be empty in a week. The point is that you carry on afterwards. How are you going to carry on afterwards? So it's about aspiration. If you have an aspiration, who cares? And therefore, just as an example, mamash as an example, when I get a girl from JFS, okay, and I know that in that school, how many girls came to Israel this year? To 7? 5. How many do we have? 2. Isn't that great? This is a school. It's not a school where the whole grade goes to Israel. The whole grade goes to Israel. Because then, okay, so I went to Israel. Everyone's going to Israel. Everyone has a burger. I had a burger. So everyone does it. I do it. But if you're in a school where no one, North Shore, I know it is somewhere else today, but North Shore, I don't know how many come to Israel, right? You have. I'm just giving a few examples. And someone just comes, and often you find the aspiration that a person has when they come from a non-Jewish school, or they come from school. It's unbelievable compared to someone who's just had it on their plate all their lives. So I want to be elitist and say no, only the people. You have to be able to read the Rashi. So what's going to be? So it's a debate in education. So is it going to be right? Misha Ra'uye Kanes Lefam, and if you're Misha in Ra'uye Shed Bachos, you don't know how to learn, please sit outside. Or everyone should come in. ואני מעמיד את הדבר כמחלוקתם שלהם. And I say that the Rabbi shows us that this is a machloka between Moshe and Yoshua. Yoshua says they're not prophets. They come and Moshe, who cares? Who cares? They're Am Yisrael. They come in. What's your problem? They're not smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. They're giving Nevuat Hashem in the middle of the Machaneh. What's your problem? They're doing a Karibach Minyan. What's your problem? They're not doing bad stuff here. They're doing good stuff. So you're telling me they weren't ordained in Yeshiva Shalmana to be prophets? Nicha B'Seder, they weren't ordained. It's like a fundamental discussion taking place here between Moshe and Yeshua. Yeshua is just running the line. Moshe Rabbeinu, they have to be ordained. They don't have to be ordained. He's up. They don't have to be ordained. Halavai, everyone was doing this. Halavai. It's the thirst that people have. It's the want to go out and the belief that you can do it. Because you're all going to do this. You're all going to go into different fields and you're all going to become professionals. You're all going to become professionals. And you're all going to succeed. So you have the brain, you have the code. So who's going to stop you from doing this with a rush? You'll do this with a minute. Only you can stop yourself. Or the fact that someone's drummed it into you that you're not worthy, that you can't, that you're not able. But you are. You totally are. Yakira comes from where you come from in Johannesburg. That's where she comes from. She's a Kringle, right? She's a Kringle, Yakira, right? You know that. She's a Kringle. And her first name was Jackie. She was Jackie Kringle, and she's Yakira HaKadosh. And how did she become Yakira HaKadosh? Because she's Yakira. How did she become Yakira? Because she's Yakira, because she did it. And Miriam Wolf, everybody's Miriam Wolf, so everybody can be Miriam Wolf. That's right, for sure. Without the song, everyone can be Miriam Wolf. Everyone was born a baby. Everyone was born a baby. Doesn't matter how true your parents are. And so it's open. Moshe says, Halavai, Kulam Levim. You understand there is a nuance between Rav Steinsaltz and Rav Hirsch. Rav Hirsch essentially is saying one specific point, which is as an educator, I want to become superfluous, which is a very, very important point. It's massively hard for parents to reach that stage where they become superfluous and to let go. It's massive. To let go of anything is massive, and the additional nuance of, and you have institutions like this right today. There were certainly in my time where everything is very elitist. Everything's very elitist, to the degree that some people apply to a place so that they can say they went there. And it doesn't really mean anything about who they were or what they are. They just want to be in that place. They can put it on their CV. I went there. And it's sort of nourishkeit. Moshe Rabbeinu is a nourishkeit. It's got nothing. There is no such thing. It's just open up. Halavai kulam you. So in a little time we have left, I was asking Rav Yonah. I actually started off by asking Rav Yonah about the Shidim Zakenim if he knows of anyone who compares it to Yitro, because Yitro also comes up in our parasha. He pointed out something else here. Rav Moshe Lichtenstein. Rav Moshe Lichtenstein, who's now the Rosh Hashiva in Alon Shvut, he's the son of Rav Lichtenstein, but he's also Rav Lichtenstein. Talmid Chacham. He wrote a book on Sefer Shemot, which I think has been translated. It's a phenomenal book. It's called Tzir Vatzon. It's based on a piyut. The words are based on a piyut. And he tries to explain. This is a totally different angle on Eldad and Medad as opposed to Moshe. And what does it mean, Moshe met Yoshua Machnis? What does it really mean? So see what he says. I have to read a bit of it for you because otherwise I won't do it justice, and I do have the minutes. So Rav Lichtenstein on Sirvatson, he writes as follows. So I have to thank Rav Yonatan for pointing this out. I've read half the book, but my marker is about 2 pages before this piece. So I read ahead. Okay, I didn't read the whole book. But בנסיבות שנוצרו אלדד ומדד חשים שנוצר פער בין משה לבין העם. Eldad and Medad are of the opinion, this is Darshanut, right? But there's something to learn here. They're of the opinion that there has become a distance between Moshe and the people. Now, we're not talking about spiritual distance because Moshe is Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Who sees Aspectaria Ha'me'ira. We're talking about Moshe's lost contact with the people. כל עוד משה חש שתלונותיהם ובעתיהם של בני ישראל נובעות מחושה ומחוסות ביטחון, יש לו את הסבלנות. As long as Moshe understood that the people's complaining and the people's worrying was to do with weakness and lack of faith, that was fine. And he had sablanut v'tasovlanut, he had the tolerance to tapel b'hem k'oman hanoseh et hayoneh, as a parent would carry their baby. אך כאשר החומרנות ורדיפת התאוות עומדות ביסוד רגשותיהם, משה אינו מבין הרק רוח זה. But when all the people want is food and all they want is physical desire, Moshe can't relate to the people. You understand? He had sympathy and tried to help the people when they were oppressed people. But now they're just greedy. I haven't got the time, I can't be bothered. אין לו אמפתיה כלפיה והוא שולל אותן לחלוטין. He has no sympathy, and he totally rejects the people. בעיה זו של הפער הולך ונפער בין משה לבין צאן מרעיתו, היא הטורדת את מנוחתם של אלדד ומדד. This is what Eldad and Medad, again, this is totally sermonic, but this is what's bothering Eldad and Medad. We're not talking about Nevoah per se, we're talking about Moshe's lost connection. He cannot relate to the problems. He cannot relate to the people. If you cannot, it doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong, you understand it. If you cannot identify with the problems that people are bringing to you, you cannot teach them anymore. And it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. It doesn't matter whether you have it and they're foolish. If that's the reality and you cannot come to terms with that reality, you cannot be their teacher anymore. That's just a fact. סירוף הזקנים אליבא דאלדד ומדד לא יפתור את בעיית הנהגה, אלא רק יחריף אותה. So Eldad and Medad, you get these 70 zakenim, it's just going to make the problem worse. Another 70 Oiber Chachams who don't relate to the people. They don't know what a rap is. They don't know half the words. Every time a word is said, they have to ask or have it look up, and they don't know what the words mean. I didn't even know what did you have at the barbecue when you put the chocolate there, you get it all over your face. What's it called? Well, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know what it's called. Just s'more. Small, okay. So you don't know what people are talking about. It's just that they could be talking a different language. It's just words come out and say, okay, small, I'm small, and small, and then I just walk around saying you've got chocolate on your face. I have nothing else to say. I don't understand that. What were you talking about? So you're going to add another 70 Zakena, another 70 Koile on the Kim to this group? That don't understand what the people are talking about, and they don't know what the people are talking about. And every time a problem comes up in society, they say, it's just progressive, the society. But that's what it is, right? So what are you going to do? That's what it is. You're going to walk out of the people. We're all going to be Koskas. We're going to live in a house away from everyone. That's what it is. So you can be cynical. You can reject. You can push it out. And you may be right, but it doesn't help because that's a Metzuos. That's a Metzuos. So if it wasn't like that 20 years ago, it just doesn't matter anymore if it wasn't like that, because it is like that now, so it doesn't matter. You're going to get so Eldad and you're going to Shivim Zakenim now, and they're going to carry on like Moshe, and everyone's going to talk in Yiddish, and they're going to go to Tosfos, and they're going to walk in and give the same shit they were giving 70 years ago to a group of people now who aren't interested anymore in that shit. They're just not interested in that shit anymore. And you're going to go back to the start from and cry. And you're going to cry and you say, they don't know, but they don't, and they need to know, and they need to connect, right? So what's going to be? Maybe I'm one of those. I'm looking at the faces. So who knows, right? Maybe you're one of those. You just don't know, right? You're going to bring another 70 articles in, they're going to start talking and speaking and quoting Rishonim and Achronim, and so Shulchan Aruch says, and they don't know about the Shulchan Aruch. They just about can't put up Rav Melamed. They don't know what Shulchan Aruch is, and what came first, the Mishnah Torah, the Mishnah Berurah. They don't know who the Beis Yosef is. They don't know who anyone is. And you're talking about the Rishonim, and you're talking about this, and no one's listening. No one's listening. And they might be polite enough to be quiet. But no one's listening anymore. משום שאף האוזנם של הזקנים לא תהיה קשבה לטענות הספסוף, because the זקנים are going to listen to the asafsuf. They're complaining whether they write no, they want me and they write no. Could they not have been satisfied with man? Yes, but that is what it is. That is what it is. There are sugas out there today that didn't exist publicly 20, 30 years ago. I can stand on my back feet and scream about it till the cows come, and will it help? No. Will it change the situation? No. So what am I meant to do? I have to relate to it. And if I don't want to relate to it, I have to retire. I have to go away. Not me personally. Anyone has to. If you don't want to relate to it, if a rabbi wants to keep hacking at the community, Rashi, Rabbi and the community's not listening anymore. They're just not listening. So what are you doing it for? What's the point? So why do I need this? It's not just Moshe, Shivim Zakanim, you think that's the problem? The problem isn't the quantity of people here. The problem is that they're not listening anymore. So how do you work out? How do you deal with that? What do you do when you're not listening? I've been fighting this for a decade. People are telling me 3 hours is too long. 3 hours is too long. 3 hours too long. I've been knocking my head against the wall. It should be 3 hours. So this year I said, okay, next year will be 2.5. We'll see. We'll see. And in both morning seders, I put in a type of Ravron shir where there'll be mini shiurim for 3 hours. So people don't have to do the 3 hours. Instead of me being stubborn and forcing people who don't want to sit there for 3 hours to sit for 3 hours, that'll be another alternative. Or I can be Milson's man. This is the ideal. This is the ideal. I'll just get a bruised head. That's all. I'll just get a bruised head and I'll become irrelevant. So where do you find the medium between compromise and giving up on your beliefs and realism? You have to find the medium. So you do both, right? So I didn't cut out the whole morning. So I put it to 2.5. I wanted to have. I still wanted to keep a length of night seder and give more supper time. So I started afternoon seder a bit earlier. Finished afternoon seder a bit earlier. So we still have 2 hours for night seder. I thought an hour for night seder wasn't good, but so I'm faced with certain facts. I can knock my head against the wall and say no, this is the ideal. This is ideal. Okay, just know it will come. So if I want to connect and I want to share, I have to be able to open up things. Do I agree with some things I'm doing? Not really. Do I think I have to do them? Obviously, I decided. No one made me decide. I decided, I took advice, and then I had to make a decision. So I decided. This is so, for me, this is like, wow, right at me. ואף הם לא יקבלו בהבנת אביהם הזקנים בני דורו של משה שייכים לדור המנהיגים הרחמים שהיו מעלים במבט פרעה. These Zakanim come from the old town, right? They come from the days of Pharaoh, the fighting with Pharaoh, the old stories, how we had Emunah and how we had Matzah the night we left and so on and so forth. ואשר השיבו במצרים, השיבה לחירות, and how we dreamt of freedom. הם שעיצבו את דמותם הרוחנית. They are the foundation fathers of the Jewish people. כל הווייתם הקיומית נתונה בסימן של מתח, אתגר והתמודדות. ללא התחשבות בנוחיות אישית ומות. The whole reality was do what we have to do, follow הקדוש ברוך הוא, לך תך אחריו במדבר, but these are their children. They're not same people. Or they're teenage children. It's not a new generation totally yet. כל הברזל המצרי יצקם בנחישות, I have to finish. בנחישות חישוב ודבקות במטרת התוספות, כנגד שורש שניסה להשכיח את ארץ אבותיהם. But it's a new generation, the generation we have today, ladies. If you go back to your great grandparents, women, if they were religious, they just said Tehillim. They didn't care whether they understood a word. They just sat and said Tehillim. We just don't do that anymore. We can romanticize about this till the cows come home. We can talk about the shtetl till the cows come, but we just don't do it anymore. And if I was to create a seminar where I go to America and say, okay, girls, you're going to come to our school, and we're going to finish Tehillim every day. It's going to be gewaldig. We're going to start Hashayesh, and then the Kala Shvat Halekah, and at the end, we're going to get up and we're going to dance a little, and the next day we'll take Tehillim again. What we do on Wednesdays, well, we'll do that again. And that's what your great-grandmother did. She just said Tehillim, right? And she didn't understand a word she said, but we just don't do that anymore. So I want to knock my head against the wall and say, we're going to do that now. Or we say, no, we'll have Rav Bailey, Rav Victor, we'll have Rav Ron, who's my new star of the year. He's never been as popular as he has been this year. He's always been popular, but never been. I am essentially, eternally thankful to Rav Bina, who oh, that woke you out, didn't it? That's interesting, TJ. What? Rav Ron used to work in the TIB, and then at some stage during Corona, they didn't need as many staff. At the hour after Rav Ron left Nativ, I found him. The hour after, he was already teaching a bit here, but I was just waiting like a vulture to pounce. And so that's what we need, right? We need someone like that who walks in and can do what he does, and he's a cool dude. I'm not a cool dude. What am I going to do then? I'm going to take you out to Teddy on my Shabbos. I'll need Mada when we get to Shah Yafa, right? We're all going out to the front door. We're going to go, everyone with Rav Milson to the front door, then we're coming back, right? Look at the shirts he wears. Girls, he's shy, he's red. Look at the shirt. Look at my shirt, it's just white. It's just a white plaid shirt with black trousers. Ron, you never know what colour he's going to wear. You know, my new barber. You never know what colour he's going to wear. So this is, you bring a teacher like that in, and that's what you need. That's what you want. I have 5 new teachers next year. I'm always searching for new teachers to bring in, and it's exactly this machloket. What we have seen in short, I don't want to hold you. What we've seen in short, we've seen a number. Again, I cannot help but underline to you. You could read through this parsha, say, okay, big deal. Eldad Medad, they finished. We've seen 3 massive things here. 3 massive things. The comment of Rav Hirsch, which I can tell you as a parent, as a teacher, and more than that, as a person who's been running this school for 30 years, the aim is to become superfluous. That's the aim. If it's about you, then you've done nothing. If it's about you, you've done nothing. The aim is the children, the aim is the students, who I'm very proud of, and the aim is the school. To become too superfluous isn't klum. It's a big deal. That's number 1. Number 2 is Rav Hirsch's comment. We believe, we follow Rav Hirsch, right? That we open our doors, right? We have girls from everywhere here. We follow it as much as we possibly can, within the qualification of the place. That if you can't learn or you don't want to learn, there's just no point being here. But to open the doors to everywhere from everyone, and we'll go everywhere to bring people. And this last point, which is a totally different point, but still very, very. It's not really about education. Well, it is about education, right? That Eldad and Medad are looking, not necessarily with glee or with simcha, and they're looking and say, listen, the rabbi's standing up and no one's listening. So the rabbi has to sit down and bring in another rabbi. Because the point is not the rabbi, the point is the subject, the point is Avodat Hashem. And that's all that's important, right? The importance is that people enjoy Torah and that people enjoy learning, and whatever way you can facilitate that is the most important way. Enjoy, ladies, the north of Israel is my favorite place. That's where we're retiring to. We've decided, please God. That's a few years yet, but I also have to know how to retire there. But it's beautiful. Enjoy.